gonna have to cut a little bit at the beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, I wasn't sure how to start this whole thing off because it's been a while since I've done a podcast. So if you're listening, welcome. It's been a while since I've been in the YouTube craze. I'm probably just gonna upload it on there to make this all easier. But I want to say it's been 6, maybe 7 years since I've done a video. And so I figured what's popular right now that I can talk about that could get me some sort of enjoyment so I can get some enjoyment out of. And I figured why not Star Wars? And if I'm going to talk Star Wars, I'm going to find another person who knows much about Star Wars as I have. And so I tracked down an old buddy of mine back from my college days. Tom, introduce yourself, man.
Um, Tommy, nice to meet you.
Yeah, Tom's a little shy, but don't worry, everyone. I'll get him to break his shell eventually. But yeah, I wanted to talk to Tom about the current status of the Star Wars universe. Not just in terms of films, but in terms of all types of media. We're in a pretty interesting state right now. And I wanted to get some of Tom's opinions on how he thinks the universe is currently and what it should look like, let's say, a year or two from now. So, Tom, tell me, what is your opinion about how Star Wars is, at least in terms of television and movies?
I think it was touch and go for a little bit for a while, in my opinion. Like the sequel trilogy, like The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, they definitely did not get everyone on board, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I like personally, I love The Force Awakens. Last Jedi, I try my hardest to like it, but there's still things that I can understand why people get so upset over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, Rise of Skywalker, I thought it was good. There were definitely parts about it I liked, but then I can also see that definitely it has flaws. That like the mistakes that Disney and Lucasfilm made over the course of the sequel trilogy, they definitely things that fans would get mad about. It feels like they definitely come to light in that movie.
Mm-hmm. My opinions
But
on the sequel. Go ahead. I thought you were
sorry,
finished.
but then that's how I thought about the secret about the movies. But then the TV shows definitely brought back everything I loved about Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. They have been trying, not talking animation wise, there were cartoons about Star Wars animation since the 80s, but they've been trying to get a live action Star Wars series on the ground since the 2000s. And there were many different reasons for why they kept pushing that project back, mostly because it's like, hey, we've stuck to movies for this long, why branch out into another field that we have very little experience in? But in terms of the sequel trilogy, I have very similar thoughts to you. I liked Force Awakens, and then the rest of the and then the other two I just can't stand. Mostly because I've talked to Tom about this before, everybody, but and I'm sure many Star Wars fans who are listening know this already. But Disney had absolutely no plan for the sequel trilogy. They just knew they wanted a new trilogy and they wanted to bring back all the old characters, but they had no plans for them. They had JJ do the first one because he wanted to do it, but then the sequel, they just got a new director, told him whatever he wanted to, and told him he could do whatever he wants. That's why most of the plot points from Force Awakens are almost never brought up in The Last Jedi, and then you have to spend The Rise of Skywalker not only touching up on everything that JJ brought up from his Force Awakens, but now you have to fix up all the problems that The Last Jedi created. So this trilogy was doomed from the very start. It was greenlit.
I can understand that too. From what I understand as well is it I always thought I heard that like that JJ he liked Last Jedi, and
Hmm.
like Rise of Skywalker. It definitely didn't feel like he was trying to, like everyone says, like he was just trying to what's the word, retcon
Retcon.
all of.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what most of the movie felt like to me. It was retconning the Last Jedi because everyone can agree. Well, most fans agree that the Last Jedi was horrible.
I uh, I can yeah, I can see why people had a problem with it, but I feel like it didn't really feel like JJ had that much of a problem with it because I do remember hearing that like he actively defended uh Last Jedi and what Ryan Johnson did with it.
Yeah,
Maybe
I did
it
hear
might have
about that.
it, yeah, it might have been like Disney made it, like whatever changes he made, maybe Disney made him do it, which is more than likely.
Hmm. Wouldn't be surprised. But yeah,
Like,
yeah, man. In terms of animation and like television, they're on point. The one thing that everyone can agree with in terms of Star Wars is that the animated shows are good for the most part,
oh, 100%.
and they give, well, especially the Clone Wars, the one that basically led this whole Star Wars animation renaissance, as I call it. It not only gave us an animated Star Wars show that allowed you to not only explore the characters of the Jedi, but also got you let you appreciate the clones and the droids and even the villains as characters. This is a show that actually took place in the prequel timeline, but actually got me and a lot of other Star Wars fans to care about the prequels. You know, in the prequels, when you see all those cool looking Jedi, but they barely get to do anything or say a line, you actually get to learn their names and their personalities in the Clone Wars. And then when Order 66 comes up in Revenge of the Sith, you actually feel bad when they start dying.
That's true too. Well, in fairness, I did feel kind of bad. Like first time I saw Revenge of the Sith, I was probably like 7 years old.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna feel bad at 7.
But funny thing is, Revenge of the Sith, that was probably my first any Star Wars experience of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw pieces of Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones before that. I didn't even know the original trilogy existed until after I saw Episode 3.
I was probably in the same boat because I want to say I saw the original trilogy when I was like maybe 4, and then I probably like blocked it out, and then I saw the prequel, and I saw the prequels with my dad, and he was like, "Son, these prequels are awful. Can we watch the original?" And I was like, "Wait, there are more than these?" Like, yeah, show the one when you were little. I was like, I completely forgot. But yeah, it's hard to really think about it. Star Wars has been around since the late 70s, and if you include all 3 trilogies plus all the spin-off films, there are what, 11 films? Yeah, there are 11 films.
With
And
with the 12th
go,
one coming out.
huh?
With a 12th one coming out.
Yeah, that was so up in the air right now. It's, yeah, out of like 11 currently released, 11 films, only 2 of them, almost everyone can agree, are actually really good, and the rest splits everyone down the middle. That is
I never
insane.
realized that.
Only New Hope and Empire Strikes Back are the ones that almost everyone considers to be great films. People have problems with Return of the Jedi for some reason, and then you already know the rest is the rest.
That's true. That, oh my.
Yeah,
Well,
for
I Rogue One, I felt like no one had a problem with. Rogue One, I thought was really good.
I really liked Rogue One, but even people found reasons to complain about Rogue One. They were like, "Oh, it's just the reason to tie in the cartoons," and I'm like, if you didn't realize the cartoons were important at this point, I'm gonna need you to stop watching Star Wars. Because if you've watched The Mandalorian, you know how important the cartoons are. So I'm gonna need you to stop trying to disrespect them. But no, I've heard people complain that remember the ghost ship from Rebels that the characters fly around in?
Oh yeah.
They show up in the final battle of Rogue One.
Do they?
Yeah, they're quick, but you do see their ship. They were in that battle.
I did not see that, and
Uh,
I will have to go back and rewatch that movie now.
yeah, yeah, but they're in there because I'm pretty sure that Rogue One takes place during the timeline of the Rebels TV show, so they would have been there.
Yeah, yeah, that adds up just about right.
And I appreciate these animated shows because we are getting scenes in these animated shows that fans have been dying to see in the films for years. Like you actually see Darth Maul and Obi-Wan encounter each other multiple times again throughout the Clone Wars, and it is as exciting and as terrifying as you think. You get to see Anakin go through a gradual development into Vader, and not just quickly mentioning events and sequences that he's done in the past, and then we're supposed to immediately just buy that he's Vader. Like, if they gave me a gradual shift from Anakin to Vader in the prequels, I would have bought it more. But the fact that he rarely does anything in the first one, has maybe a scene or two in the second one, and then just goes balls to the wall crazy in the third one out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's yeah, yeah. That is true. You have to kind of there has to be kind of like a bridge point. Like it couldn't be just like in one movie. He's a kid who wants to be a Jedi, but then loses his mom and gets his arm cut off, and then next movie he's going around murdering children.
Yeah, it just seems like too big of a jump to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It definitely gives him more character, and like it definitely reflects more on that transformation. I agree with you 100% there.
hmm And I know this happened years ago, but it's still on a lot of fans' minds. But the acquisition, I want to say it took place in what 2013, 14, when Disney bought Star Wars. They knew they wanted to do a new series of films, but if they did, the films would conflict with all the canon and continuity that the comic books and the video game and all the expanding universe material has built up throughout the years. Because Star Wars is technically still going on, even though the original trilogy had ended. So what did they do? They take out all the old universe stuff and they wipe the slates clean. They pick and choose what parts of the Star Wars universe they want to keep canon and wipe out everything else. So as far as the fans know, the only thing that's still relevant are all the films, the cartoons, and select books and comics and video games that they pick and choose can be canon now. And that made a lot of fans angry because these are people who grew up following all this lore and all this story for 40 plus years. And then they're told when a new series of movies come out that everything they read and played and listened to means nothing now. Means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's a classic Disney move.
And it's like,
They
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, Disney yeah, they tend to do that a lot. They just kind of they're definitely a company that where it's like what they say goes.
hmm I, I, hmm, I have a weird relationship with Disney because they saved Marvel, and they gave me the MCU, but they also messed up Star Wars, and ruined some of my favorite characters with with that recent trilogy.
Yeah, that is true too. The one thing, like you remember you said like that Disney didn't have like a clear cut plan
Mm-hmm.
for this, but the one thing almost sure was their plan from the beginning was to just kill off Luke, Han, and Leia.
Oh
I think
yeah, no doubt, because they were all getting old, and there was no reason to keep them around in the series if they could drop off and die at any point in real life. I mean, look what actually happened to Carrie Fisher. She died before the last one came out.
that's true. That was a very dark day.
It was even darker when you remember that her mom died like a week or a day before her or
Oh
after
yeah.
her. I can't remember which is which.
Oh, she like within the week.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
That was the other. That the passing of Carrie Fisher. That was the one thing that kind of made me take Rise of Skywalker with a grain of salt, or just not look at it as hard as someone would with Last Jedi, because it's understandable some of the stuff I didn't like about it. Like it felt like it was way too fast paced, and
Mm.
I realized almost immediately that was them trying to just get as quickly past the fact that Carrie Fisher's gone as fast as they could.
You know, Carrie Fisher's death reminded me that there aren't too many female characters in Star Wars, but the ones we do have are absolutely fantastic for the most part.
Oh my!
I mean, we have Leia, we have Sabine, we have Hera, we have Ahsoka.
We got I like even the new ones like Jin from Rogue One. I
All
loved
right,
her.
Sid from freaking Bad Batch is hilarious.
Yeah,
Why can't I
and
remember?
then
Why can't I remember the female Mandalorian from Mandalorian? Why can't I remember her name now? She was in Clone Wars. I feel so bad.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, Bo-Katan. I couldn't. What kind of fan am I? I couldn't remember her name.
Well, it sounds like a discontinued soft drink, so it's kind of understandable.
God dang it! I hate you now. I'm gonna be thinking about a soft drink now.
It sounds like a discontinued flavor of Mountain Dew.
Oh, now you're just going too far, man. You're dissing Mountain Dew. I'm just kidding. You can diss Mountain Dew as much as you want. But yeah, book wise and comic wise, it's difficult and weird. I know you haven't read much of them, but most of them is that we're taking stories from the old universe and reshaping them to fit our current timeline. But we're also coming up with some original stuff that fans have been asking us to answer for years. Because despite the fact the franchise has been along for almost 50 years, not every big question that all the fans are wondering has been answered.
Really?
Yeah, like, did the original plan after Return of the Jedi, so the original trilogy ends. They were gonna do a sequel trilogy explaining Yoda and his species and why they were so powerful. That was the original plan, but they couldn't get a script right, and there was a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that prevented them from making any new films. So instead of doing sequels, because all the original actors were too old, they decided to do prequels so they can just get a whole new stream of actors.
Is that how it went?
Honestly, yeah, like Lucas is responsible for creating Star Wars, but a lot of your favorite aspects of Star Wars almost had nothing to do with them, and they were created or put into place because of the producers and the other writers that were behind Lucas.
I always It always seemed like it was 100% him.
You'd be surprised. No, here's the funny thing. The original trilogy, a lot of it was not him. It was his producers that were like fixing up a lot of the things that he wanted to do. Like look through the film log. I'm pretty sure throughout all the Star Wars films, I think Lucas only directed one, maybe two, and then the rest were all directed by different people.
Well, he directed all three prequels.
Yeah,
But the
that's
thing,
yeah, that was the thing. He had complete control of the prequels. It wasn't like the original trilogy where he had people disagreeing with him and telling him this is not how you do a film. Let me show you this. No, he was in the director's chair and he had nobody telling him off, and that's why the prequels are the way they are.
oh yeah, well when you're the father of the biggest franchise in all of cinematic history, nobody's gonna tell you nobody's gonna tell you anything other than, can I get you a Diet Coke?
Even though they should, because look what happened to the series.
Oh yeah. The thing is, from my understanding, this is the story I've always heard. George Lucas, he directed A New Hope when it first was first made.
Mm-hmm.
That was him. And then he decides like dialogue choices, because he's as great of a filmmaker as he is. His dialogue is,
Less than desirable. He's no Tarantino, let's say.
oh yeah, not complete opposite, but he put, from what I understand, that's what you have to admire about him, and this is why I admire him so much, and why I love his movies, is because he put his heart and soul into that first movie
Mm-hmm.
more than anything.
Yeah,
And
Tom's right, everybody. I'm sorry, Tom, for cutting you off. Check out the behind the scenes for when they create the first movie. You actually find it really surprising. But please, Tom, continue.
oh yeah, he making that movie, what's a lot of people don't realize, like, do you know why back in like back in 2004 when he re-released them and he changed it, like all these other stuff, like he put in all this crazy CGI. He he added in scenes. He cut scenes out and changed them. He covered R2D2 in rocks for some reason.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, all of those changes he made, those were stuff that he wanted to do all the way back in 1977, but
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't. The production nearly killed him. He checked himself into the hospital because he thought he was having a heart attack.
Yep. And wasn't
Yeah,
there also a story about how the actor for C-3PO was trapped in his suit during a sandstorm?
oh no, the first time Anthony Daniels put the suit on, he took one step, the whole suit burst open and like broke his shin or something.
Right, that's what was it. I remember there was like a sandstorm that happened during filming, and like they couldn't get some of the props out in time, so that the props got ruined. They had to get new props because they were
Oh
actually
yeah,
filming that movie in a desert.
yeah, that's what the other thing. Everyone, like everything was going against him when he was making that movie. The producers, the actors, the writers. Well, maybe not the actors as much, besides the obvious dialogue changes they
Mm-hmm.
demanded. A lot of his friends, besides maybe Steven Spielberg, he's probably the only person outside of production I've ever heard of supporting him. But then even and then when he's filming, even Mother Nature was against him. Like anytime he filmed any of the Tatooine stuff, sandstorms everywhere.
Jeez.
They and that like, I think it went even beyond that movie. They filmed the first part of Empire in snowstorm.
Ha! Why am I not surprised? Gotta get that authenticity. I can't blame them now because at least you can tell they were actually in snow. Unlike the prequels when you go and get a shut the Coruscant and everything looks like a blobby digitalized just phony piece of art.
Oh yeah.
Like the Rebel base on Hoth was an actual building that they built. It,
But well, that was the thing. When like when they made New Hope, he went like, oh, he was late on the release date. He was over the budget. He was nothing good. Like anything that was supposed to go right in making that movie, it went complete opposite direction. So then New Hope, that was the one that fans like for years demanded he keep it the way it originally was.
Hmm.
That's an unfinished movie to him. That
Yeah,
is that is a half complete Lego set.
I want to say
Just
between like then and now, weren't there like three major re-releases of the prequels? I mean, of the original trilogy. I remember
oh
there
yeah,
there was one in like '97, and then they had one in the 2000s, and then I think they had a third one recently when they put the entire thing on Blu-ray.
that yeah he'd make he'd make minor changes all throughout them, and then I think like with every re-release he he would make he'd make like a couple big changes. Mostly the first New Hope was the one he changed the most because that to him was unfinished.
Mm. I wonder if he made any changes to the prequels, because one of the things I've come to notice as I rewatch them, and I recommend that everybody listening do the same too. Watch the prequels and notice how most of the main characters walk really slowly, and that's because of how they made the backgrounds. Instead of getting actual buildings and sets, everything is CG, and they can't have the actors running through the scenes without messing with the cameras. So notice how slowly everyone walks throughout those movies. Even in scenes where they shouldn't be walking, they happen to be moving surprisingly slowly.
I can, yeah, I when I think back now, I can kind of see that. Like the one thing that stands out to me was in Attack of the Clones, like Obi-Wan, like he's walking with Sam Jackson, Mace Windu,
And
and
Yoda, yes,
Yeah,
that's the scene I was referencing.
yeah, like they are taking like a step a minute, and Yoda's up on this floating like 70s cushion chair.
Yeah, because you have to think about it. Not only would the two actors have to walk slowly to make sure that they don't mess with the cameras, they also have to walk slowly just to make sure that they match pace with Yoda. But they can't see him, so they just have to assume it. Like, I give those actors respect for the ones he got for the prequel trilogy. And I can imagine most of these people have done movies before, and they're sitting around waiting for freaking Lucas to start filming, and they're like, "What is this guy doing? He doesn't know how to direct the film." And I got paid anyway, so I'll be in it. It's Star Wars. Who cares? I still love the fact that the only way they got Samuel L. Jackson to be in the movies is if they gave him his purple lightsaber like he asked.
Oh yeah, there actually is a clip of that. I remember seeing the clip where he's like talking to George Lucas, and he's like, "So what color lightsabers are there? Good guys got blue and green, bad guys got red. What about a purple lightsaber? Yeah, I can get you a purple lightsaber. You want a purple lightsaber?
You bet I want a purple lightsaber. And I want to say the F word. Okay, Mr. Jackson, we can get you the purple lightsaber, but we can't have you say the F word. Ah, fine.
Actually, that was another request he had.
I knew it.
Yeah, he on the hilt of his lightsaber, he had it carved "bad mother effer" on his lightsaber.
Yes. The legend never. I want that written on his tombstone. All right, everybody. I'm gonna start a petition for when Samuel L. Jackson dies. We're gonna put you know what on his tombstone.
Oh, that's probably already in his will.
We're gonna make sure it stays in place.
It'll probably also be if you notice at the end of Captain America: Winter Soldier, when Nick Fury, when he dies, you'll notice when he dies. Spoiler alert. You notice on his gravestone that it's the same quote, it's the same Bible quote that he said in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I never even noticed that. That's amazing. But we are way over past the time limit, but I didn't care because this was a fun conversation. But Tom, thank you so much again for doing this for me, man. I knew you'd be the perfect guy for the job.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah, and I'm gonna post this on YouTube and see how this turns out.